Welcome back everyone, I'm Setharoth, and today we are diving into our second Arcanum video, specifically focusing on the Conjuration spells. This is a wide assortment of conjurations, bound weapons, and a couple of other perks and buffs I think you guys will really enjoy. Without further ado, let's dive on in. First off, we're going to need an undead of some kind. We're going to go with an old favorite from our previous video, the Death's Shadow. And we're going to combine that with a spell called Vigor Mortis. Now, Vigor Mortis, I can look it up on my screen here because that's a very, very small font. Concentrate to drain 10% of your current health per second and heal the target undead unit for that amount plus 15 health per second. Maintaining Vigor Mortis for 6 seconds grants the target unholy strength, increasing their attack damage by 50% and their health, stamina, and magicka by 50 points for 30 seconds. Alright, so first you need an undead, Abracadabra. Now, this is a healing spell that drains your own health in order to heal the target. But once you've healed them for more than 6 seconds, the target gets a buff that increases their damage, it increases their health, it increases their magicka, all of the above. So as long as you're confident that your undead tank is going to be tanking, you can throw in this spell to keep them alive, and after 6 seconds to fully empower them further, which is all in all not a bad arrangement. Let's see if I can't get rid of him with Altar's Reach. There we go. Okay, so that is a good emergency heal. Oh wait, he's still here. All right, Death's Shadow is a little more persnickety than the other undead and summoned ones, I think, because this one specifically binds to you. For example, if you were at 50% and tried this and then tried to heal you with your health for, let's say for example, if I conjure him again, might as well just remind you guys of the slight limitation to conjuring this particular guy. He copies or fixes the amount of health that you have at the moment that you cast him. So this is Death's Shadow. Now I have 50% health, and if I try to heal, it's not going anywhere. Just a bit of a warning when you're using that particular conjuration. But as we were saying, Vigor Mortis is a great healing spell, only works on undead. So obviously if you're using Atronachs, it's not going to do you a whole lot of good. However, we have another one that's going to be a bit more versatile. Next we have Bound Dagon's Cresent. This creates a magical Daedric Crescent for 120 seconds. Every third attack sends out a spinning projectile that deals 3 magic damage per second and reduces armor and magic resist for 10 seconds while applying bound weapon perks. So we're going to do this in first person first so that we can really enjoy what this looks like. I really like this curved blade. I love the mesh. It looks great. And as you can see, every third attack results in a spinning weapon that flies out away from you. So depending on the perks that you have, these hits could apply Soul Trap to everything that they hit, as well as extra damage, as well as banishing undead or Daedra, depending on what kind of bound weapon perks you have. So this is one that I really like because it's a little more versatile than just being forced to pick between a bound sword or a bound bow, because this does give you some ranged options. And all in all, it looks great. Very much enjoying it. And then this is a very tolerant Death's Shadow. Alright, so that is item number 2 on our list. Bound Daedric Crescent works really nice. Next, we're going to have a look at the Mindwrack Spider. Alright, the Mindwrack Spider. Oh, that's now the thing about these Arcanum spells is they have a lot of functionality. There's a lot packed into most of these spells. It's not just like, oh, we just do a little bit of damage and we're done. The Mindwrack Spider is a Daedric creature. You get him for 60 seconds, and he appears wherever you are pointing. His attacks they absorb magicka, and if it attacks a target that's in the process of casting a spell, not only does the target take 50 bonus magic damage, but the positive effects of the spell are then cast on the Mindwrack Spider, and the negative effects rebound onto the target. So this guy is your mage killer. We're going to go ahead and make a little arrangement and summon a little mage to, well, feed him to our spider. And here we go. So that was 2 hits, 3 hits, and almost got him. Come on, Mr. Spider. There we go. So one thing I like about this guy, as you can see, he has ranged attacks. So this isn't one of those conjurations that's going to get in your way when you're trying to run through a hallway for cover and so on. And he also likes to, you know, burrow in the ground, which I find super creepy, but it makes it a little easier to get around him if you're in a narrow hallway or narrow passages or what have you. So that's your anti-magic conjuration. He also is tougher than most of the other novice and apprentice level conjurations. So he does work well against regular mortals as well, not just the magically oriented kinds. Alright, next on our list is the Soulforge Sculptor. This summons a Soulforge Sculptor for 2 minutes at your location. After 1 second, the nearest Soulforge Sculptor equips a copy of the weapon in your right hand. So the nice thing about this one is this is basically a ghost that will copy whatever weapon you have equipped. As you can see, he has my sword. Now, if I were to put up an axe or a mace, he would copy it. And I believe that also includes whatever weapon enchants or special abilities you might have on that particular weapon. So you can basically take your rare Daedric weapon and double its damage. I don't know the exact specs of the sculptor himself, but the fact that you can whip out your ebony or dragonbone sword or something and give it to and duplicate it on your sculptor is a nice touch, because particularly if you are a smithing based character, it means your benefits for smithing are then doubled, because obviously they go straight to your summon as well. Alright, this next one we're going to combine with the Mindwrack Spider, because this one's tricky. This is called Crystallize Soul. Now, Crystallize Soul is kind of the poor man's soul trap. Alright? Once you hit someone with the spell, if the target dies within 30 seconds, they have a chance to spawn an empty soul gem on their corpse, based on your conjuration level. The type of soul gem spawned is based on the target's level. So first off, we're going to get out the buffest conjuration that we have, and then we're going to bring in another little friend to experiment on. There we go. Alright, let's tag this guy. Oop, almost got him. There we go. Okay, so it lasts for 30 seconds. So we just got to make sure our little spider is the one chewing on him. There we go. You know, for this demonstration, I think we can afford to go God mode. And I think we're going to go ahead and throw in a spell or two just to speed the fight along, because sometimes getting the right balance combination of victims is tricky. There we go. This ought to help. Oh. I went into, let's see, what's the other spell I have equipped here? Oh no, it's in my menu. Betrayal of Flesh. That's a good apprentice level one. It's your first, like, direct damage conjuration spell, but then it's kind of nice. It does damage over time. It's not quite as effective as your destruction, but it does give you options. So as you can see, I didn't get a soul gem this time. It is a random drop. So it is something that you can't just kind of wave your fingers and demonstrate, because it's on a random drop. But while we're at it, let's go ahead and give it another shot.
What you gonna do?
Nope, down you go. Okay, nothing of note yet. We're going to give it one more try, but this is one of those that has a very low drop rate, because obviously you're basically creating soul gems out of your target. I think we'll just double check the description here. Yeah, if the target dies in 30 seconds, they have a chance to spawn an empty soul gem on their corpse based on your conjuration level. So the chance really isn't very high. I've tried this a couple of times and haven't gotten one to proc yet. Let's see if we can't get enough of these to proc. Oh, jeez. That's the thing about these random spawns. I mean, sometimes you'll get a cheapy little bandit that dies really quick, and then other times you get plunderers that don't die nearly as easily. I think we're going to go ahead and bring in... yeah, we'll bring this Mindwrack Spider back in. She does a lot of damage. She, he, I don't know what the genders are for Daedric creatures. I just know I get to watch them do their work. Okay, alright, so let's test these two bodies and see if... Oh no, Bandit Plunderer resisted Crystallize Soul. Okay, so it's one of those spells that can be resisted, and apparently it can be resisted fairly easily. So, yeah. But it gives you an alternate source of soul gems if you don't necessarily want to bother with the College of Winterhold, which I think is a really creative idea for a conjuration spell. I think that makes a lot of sense, because in the vanilla Skyrim, you never actually find out how they're made, so it makes sense that you could find a way to actually create empty soul gems that are ready for use. I think that's a really good approach. Next, we want to look at Dark Bargain. This is another fun one for pretty much any conjuration build, frankly. Okay, it's a two-handed one. So for 120 seconds, your conjuration spells have only 30% duration. So this shortens your conjuration spells significantly. However, you can have one additional summoned or reanimated minion. So we're going to pop our little bargain real quick. Alright, whip out our Mindwrack Spider. And bring up some friends. Let the games begin! See, this is where you get frustrating when you're first starting out as a mage, or a conjuration mage in Skyrim. Because obviously, if you're just stuck with one summon and you're outnumbered 4-1, that can complicate things. But courtesy of Dark Bargain, you can now have double the conjurations. They don't last as long, but I figure if you have enough magicka to keep it coming, to keep Pain Train coming, then yeah, you're good. And you can just keep chewing away at them. Yep. 2 Daedra are better than 1. Also, one thing that you should consider, once you use this ability, you don't have to duplicate, right? All of the things that you can conjure here, you can conjure them in pairs. So I can do one Mindwrack Spider and one Putrid Imp, and they're both primarily ranged attack types. So if I was a melee-oriented conjuration mage, I could do one of each, and then benefit from the stacking damage between the Putrid Imp and the Mindwrack Spider. All definitely interesting combinations I encourage you guys to check out, because, yeah, that's pretty cool. Alright, next we have Essence Extraction. This one doesn't actually require combat. You absorb the essence of the target corpse, granting you their racial ability for 40 seconds, and disintegrating the body to ash. You may cast Essence Extraction on a summoned or undead unit to bestow this essence upon them for 40 seconds. So if we run up to our Bandit Plunderer here... Oh, no, maybe I got the wrong... Nope. It is a ranged one, so there we go. Okay, so I just borrowed that Nord's Frost Resistance. I'm going to hop over here and double check. I think, yep, Essence Extraction. Resists 50% of frost damage for 40 seconds. And then you can actually go over to your little Mindwrack Spider here. Come on. What am I missing? It's harder when they burrow like that. Yeah, well. You know what? No, let's try to summon them again. Just see if we can get this to work. Got a few more seconds here. There we go. Essence Bestowed, upper left corner. So this spider now has 50% frost resistance. So the perk of that, obviously, is that if you're up against mages, for example, and you happen to take out a Nord mage, you can then steal his frost resistance, give it to your buddy, and then sick him after the frost mage in the other room, which I think is a very interesting... Technically, if you were to use this in combination with the Sacrosanct mod and the Dunmer race, which lets you steal the racial benefits of other races by feeding on them, you could combine these two to actually stack racial powers and then give whichever ones you want, or whichever ones you extract, to your conjurations, which I think is another interesting approach, especially if you're using a mod like Imperius that gives you brand new racial abilities. Being able to pick and choose those at will would be a really fun... It also kind of adds a sense of randomity to the game, particularly if you're dealing with guys in a lot of armor. You know, if they're fully decked out in dwarven or ebony armor, you don't necessarily know their race. So that's another fun twist. Is it's like a Jack-in-the-Box grab bag. It's like, I don't know what ability I'm going to get by extracting you, sir, but we're going to find out, and it'll enhance my playthrough. This one gave me some kind of undead thing. Oh, 50% resistance to poison. Oh, I must have been a red guard. And then I don't know how if Daedra are actually weak against that sort of thing, but hopefully Mr. Spider, yep, there we go. Essence Bestowed. You can see the energy leaving me and going to him. Keep in mind, you are transferring the essence, you're not copying it. I lost my poison resistance when I gave it to Mr. Spider over here. So keep that in mind. It's for empowering the guys on the front lines. Which is not bad. I like that. It's a fun spell. Now, possibly, I don't know if OP is the right word for this spell, but we're definitely going to stick with the Mindwrack Spider because, yeah, you want a ranged friend for this one. This next spell is called Necrotic Ooze. Creates a 15-foot radius pool of noxious slime for 30 seconds. All living units within the ooze are slowed and take 15 poison damage per second, while undead units regain 15 health per second and move faster. Whenever any unit covered in ooze dies, another pool of necrotic ooze is formed around the corpse. So the main takeaways from this is it only does damage to living creatures, but it actually heals undead and makes them faster. So if you're doing a necromancer build and you've got multiple undead, this baby, you want it. But keep in mind, you count as living, so if you get stuck in this ooze, it will hurt you and it will not be fun. That said, let's bring in a demonstration. Bon appetit! Alright, oh geez, that guy died quick. And let's see how this other guy... Okay, this one's a bit tougher, but as you can see, the ooze is slowly doing its work. I can't really tell the health of my Mindwrack Spider, but he's standing on the edge of it. Oh, geez, yep, he killed his Mindwrack Spider. Alrighty. Oh, and he's dead. Okay. Alright, so Daedra are hurt by this stuff, and you're hurt by this stuff, so be careful, because your followers will also be hurt by this unless they happen to be undead. But as you can see, the nice thing about it is when your target dies, they literally explode and make the ooze puddle bigger. So particularly if you can lure guys into a choke point, like at the edge of a hallway, and drop this puppy and keep him there, beautiful, beautiful things can happen. Particularly if you combine this with frost magic that usually slows down the opponent, and then use your dragon shout, unyielding force, to keep them piled on top of each other, you can do a lot of damage with this spell. And yeah, it's just fun to watch it spread like that. It's another Jack in the Box, right? Who's going to go first? I don't know, but it's going to be exciting. Alright, for this next spell, we're actually going to need a Thrall of Elemental Nature. Because this next spell that we're going to be looking at is called Atronach Binding. This takes a completely different approach to bringing Atronachs into play. As you can see, I have bound my Atronach. Now, the next time I cast this spell, it will actually manifest as a weapon. And as you can see, it's like the bound sword, except it's elemental. Come to think of it, I should probably read the description. Okay, so Atronach Binding binds the spirit of an elemental Atronach into a bound weapon. It becomes either a Burning Edge, a Frozen Maul, or a Stormbow spell that you may cast for free. Atronach Binding has a 75% chance to fail on enemy Atronachs, so you can attempt to bind the enemy's Atronach, but you'll probably have to hit him with the spell 4 times before it takes. So keep that in mind if you're going to try anything particularly crazy in that department. But I am going to attempt to demonstrate this. Hopefully this... Oh, well, well, there you go. So lots of uber damage from the Flame Sword. And my character doesn't even have a lot of one-handed weapon skill. Actually, you know what? We'll try it on this guy over here. I don't think this undead has been... Oh, yeah, he has. My mistake. My mistake. He has come out. But as you can see, this one doesn't do any... It doesn't hurl fire. It just has a lot more damage than your average bound element weapon, or your regular bound weapon that just does regular damage. But the nice thing about this is it's elemental in nature, right? So if you're up against vampires, for example, you can, and your Flame Atronach is about to die, you can actually turn it into a bound weapon and continue fighting, which I think is fantastic. The nice thing about this is there's no time limit on it, although once you sheath it, it is then gone, I'm pretty sure. Let me just double check. Oh yeah, once you sheath it, you are unarmed in that hand. But it doesn't have a time. You could run it through an entire dungeon and be fine as long as you didn't switch out a spell or sheath the weapon. So that's another nice touch, because you can then use that weapon for as long as you need. Alright, next is Chorus of Woe, and we are going to combine that with Mr. Death's Shadow. Now, Chorus of Woe is a pulse of catalytic darkness. Undead units hit emit a 20-foot spectral shriek, dealing 5 magic damage per second for 10 seconds to living units. Alright, so I think first off we're going to want... Let's see, is that my... Oh, no, that's the... So first off, you need your undead. Second off, you need a victim.
Never should have come here.
Third off, you aim this at your undead. There you go. Oh, nope, he died. This random generator, it'll give you these uber strong ones, or you're not. But the main idea is, well, if he'll live long enough, jeez. I'm at full health, so my shadow is not at full power. This will be good. Okay, let me... There we go. Alright, so you see that shockwave coming off of my shadow? That shockwave will do 50 damage over the course of 10 seconds to its living victim. So it's kind of nice because you can send in your undead to deal with your opponents, and then obviously you get an area of effect weapon that is generated off of your undead that does damage over time. Of course, in this case, I end up tanking myself just to make it all work out. But all in all, not bad. Keep in mind, when you summon Death's Shadow at full health, it is in its weakest form. If I had hurt myself, if I had taken about 50% of my health and then summoned that Death's Shadow, he would have been much stronger. So it is not that weak if you use it the way it's supposed to. I just needed something to zap for my demonstration, and unfortunately, Daedra don't count, so I couldn't use Mr. Mind Spider. Alright, next we want Howl Pack Alpha. This is a great spell. Summons the Howl Pack Alpha for 1 minute wherever the caster is pointing. When it's summoned, it summons a Spirit Wolf Familiar for 60 seconds for each non-wolf unit within 30 feet. The Howl Pack Alpha's attacks have a chance to summon additional Spirit Wolves. In other words, if you're doing like a werewolf playthrough, this is your bread and butter. So let's bring in some troops and see what happens. Alright, we are outnumbered. And now we are not. So, the Alpha is the white shining one. And keep in mind, he is not meant to tank. He is meant to swarm. Which means, ideally, you'll need a tank. Because as soon as the Alpha is dead, all of his other summons go bye-bye. But notice that whenever he attacks, he has a random chance of summoning another Spirit Wolf. So he's running away now. That's not very helpful. We can go ahead and resummon him here. There we go. So then, what I love about this spell is you really get the feeling like you're swarming your opponent, right? Particularly because the Alpha can summon additional wolves. And I do like the fact that in its AI it runs away after it summons a bit, because if it goes straight in and gets killed right away, then it's kind of useless because all of its summons vanish, right? It's like killing a conjurer first before you deal with the summons. In my case, true to form, I went ahead and summoned too many high-level bandits, because this is technically still just an apprentice-level spell, right? This isn't one of the end-game, end-all, be-all spells. But I think if you had a tank that was already dealing with the majority of the bad guys, right? And then you summon this guy in the periphery, every time he attacks, he has a chance of summoning more Spirit Wolves. So I just really like this idea of being able to conjure up these spirits, particularly if you're doing a shaman playthrough or a werewolf playthrough. Can you imagine summoning this guy and then transforming into a werewolf, then going to town? I think that would be a lot of fun. That would be a very fun playthrough. Alright, last but not least, we're going to have to be out of God mode for this, and I am going to need my healing spells, because this guy he hurts in many, many ways. Alright, the Lord of the Pit, this is our last spell for the day, summons a Greater Eidolon of Perite for 60 seconds at the caster's location. Enemies around it lose armor and magic resist. While the Lord of the Pit is summoned, you lose 70 health every 7 seconds. So that's 10 health per second that you're going to lose when you use this conjuration. But wait till you see what he does. Alright, now he's in play. He is one big bruiser. He's got dual-wielding, massive spells. But here's the thing. Every 7 seconds, watch my health. Every 7 seconds you take a lot of damage. 70 damage every 7 seconds. So you have to be very careful with how you use him, and this is why I also highly suggest getting Altar's Reap, because that actually allows you to, in essence, dispel him when you are done with him. Come on, there we go. Okay, which, as you can see, greatly enhances my Magicka regen. So he is a very powerful summon, but he also obviously can kill you. So you want to use him wisely, but as you can see, he fully tanks out my Magicka regen once I absorb him, which then makes it a lot easier for me to heal myself. There we go. So depending on if you're up against a particularly potent boss, or keep in mind my character currently doesn't have a lot of restorations right now. If I was a fully perked restoration mage, I would probably have an easier time of healing the damage that summon inflicts on you, and then it wouldn't be that much of a problem, right? But when I made this guy just pure conjuration for the demo. So once you have more restoration, then I'm using that particular, the Lord of the Pit would be more feasible in combat. Alright, so that is it for today. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite summon was out of what we covered. I particularly like the Howl Pack Alpha. I think if you have someone to tank, you could have a dozen wolves helping you in a fight, which would be pretty cool. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Take care. Bye.